Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick, and in today's video I'm going to be discussing some of the risks that you incur when buying a collection of ball pythons like I have here. So let's dive right into it. The number one risk that I kind of found associated with this is animal health. So when you're buying a collection, you really don't have a ton of time to overview the animal health. You really don't even know how long this person had the animals. You don't know the care that they took of the animals. You don't really know a lot of those factors. So with this collection specifically, I spoke in detail with the guy about his care, things like that, kind of really tried to feel out what he knew and what he didn't know. And also too, the person I bought this collection from made it very easy because he told me about all the ball pythons that had bad sheds going on, all the ball pythons that had this going on, that going on, yada yada yada. He knew all of it. So he knew the issues with every ball python without me really having to pry, which that kind of tells me that that's someone who actually cared about their animals and kind of took the time to know their animals. So another issue besides animal health, and this kind of ties into it, is gene quality. You know, we talk about genetics all the time, and we talk about the lines of genetics and things like this, but a lot of times we don't really talk about how someone's inchy might look better than my inchy, right? The inchy, the quality of a certain genetic in your collection does matter. It does shine, it does show. Like, there is something to be said for high quality, good examples of genes that they can pass on to their offspring. So not necessarily that you won't be able to see it, but you're also kind of gene quality wise, you're kind of sitting here and you're going through these animals very quickly, you're looking at them quickly. It's hard to make a split-second decision on, oh wait, is this high quality? I think so. I don't really know. You know, you try to do your best. It's also very difficult too to understand quality whenever now you're at least the third person to have handled this snake, right? In theory, there was the person who produced it, the person who bought it, and now you're buying the collection. Things can get lost if there's been more than 3 owners. You know, sometimes the first go around it might have been labeled a inchy pastel fire, and then you get it and for some reason someone forgot to mention that there's fire in it, or worse, somebody just decided, I think this has fire in it, and labeled it as a fire without even knowing the pairing or anything like that. So there are certain risks when it comes to the genetics of it, which also kind of brings me into the number 3, like, big risk is you're trusting hets. So whenever if you're going to go buy a collection, you have to evaluate a collection. Well, you know, you're buying hets, and you don't know where they came from. You didn't know the pairing. The people who have it, I mean, they know who they bought it from, right? They have the records, but even that doesn't really matter. Like, it can be very risky when buying hets in general, let alone when you're buying a collection of hets that haven't been proved out. So you don't know. I mean, you can trust it probably about as much as you can trust anything for sale online, right? When it comes to Morph Market and things like that, you really just have to do your best at trying to learn the person if they seem like they're shady or not. The guy that I bought this from, up front, he told me the animals that had health issues, and also up front, he told me which animals he had proven out and which ones he hadn't, and also which ones he hadn't tried to prove out because they weren't big enough yet. So up front, he said, this one's a proven het pied, this one is not, but the person I bought them from, they told me het pied. He goes, I'm labeling them what they were sold to me as, which is fair, because you're only going to label based on the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that you trusted at some point, right? So I didn't expect him to have documentation of, you know, all the pairings and all the hets and things like that. I decided that after meeting the guy, talking to the guy, and, you know, seeing his knowledge and his understanding and everything, I knew that he's not the kind of person who would have lied to me and just put a bunch of het stuff on here. I could be totally wrong, but my character assessment of him really just made me think that dude's not a liar. He's an honest guy, and he fell into a tough situation and he had to get rid of the animals. And it's unfortunate. It does happen in the hobby, but that's, you know, that's neither here nor there. But make sure that whenever you're buying from someone, if you decide to make an investment of this size, just be careful with who you trust. And here's the thing, I could be wrong. Some of these hets could be wrong, and at the end of the day, that's on me, you know. I'm the one who ultimately made the decision to purchase these animals as is and what they are, right? I mean, you can't go to a used dealership and then 3 years later the car breaks down and now you're calling them and you're like, hey, what happened? Like, that's not how it works. So unfortunately, some of it takes time to prove out, and it just is what it is. So now I'm going to get away from the animal side of things, and I'm going to talk about 3 things that will inevitably increase if you increase your collection size. Now, to give you an example, I'm more than doubling what I had before. Right now, I currently have about 50 total ball pythons and about 30 or 15 to 20 babies. So I have maybe 70 in that room. The most I ever had in that room at one time when we had all 30 babies, I think was like 90. Was about 90 ball pythons. Well, this room right here alone, I think it has 80 to 85 in it. Somewhere in that range. I think it's around 80 actually. It has 36 ready to breed females. So not only do we have a ton of animals in here, we have a ton of animals that are going to be producing for us, and we have a lot of holdbacks that are going to be producing for us within probably the next, I'd say, 6 to 8 months. Not producing, but will be ready to breed within the next 6 to 8 months. So what happens, right? Well, number one, we had to sacrifice another room of our house because you're buying a collection, you still have to quarantine these animals. So they're still quarantined from my other room as best as humanly possible. It is incredibly difficult to try to quarantine like yourself from 2 rooms because they both require daily care. So you do the best you can as far as that goes. But what inevitably happens is your electric bill is going to increase, right? I had to plug in 11 racks, total 11 racks. That's going to increase electricity because they draw wattage, you know the whole deal there. So your electric bill, our electric bill is going to go up a little bit. We don't think, I know it's not going to go up like a boatload, but it'll go up a decent amount. It's not going to double or anything like that, but it's still going to go up like probably 20%, I would say. It's like probably another $100, $125 a month would be my guess. Could be wrong, but could be a little more, could be a little less. It's always more in the winter anyway. So your electric bill is going to go up a little bit. Your rat bill is going to go up a little bit. I still breed my own rats. Don't quite produce enough to feed 2 collections. I produce enough to feed my whole collection and about maybe some of the holdbacks in here. So I can feed like 100 snakes every 7 to 10 days based on what I do. Most of the time it's 7 days, but sometimes 10, just depending on how the rats lay. So every 7 to 10 days, I produce enough rodents to where I can kind of feed about, like I said, close to about 100 snakes. So I had to source out, because now I have over 100 snakes, I had to source out a rat breeder who now I pick up from bi-weekly, and that's how I feed this collection throughout, the in-between times of buying rodents. So that was something that's going to increase. So my rodent bill is going to go up like an extra probably $250 a month, I think, $250 a month. If I had to guess, actually that's not a guess, that's what it is. $250 to $300. It's going to vary based on babies, based on things like that. Now, once there's hatchlings and things like that, I had to buy a bunch of frozen thawed rodents because some of these males that we have in here, I'm feeding frozen thawed to instead of live because I want to save the live for my breeders. So we bought a bunch of frozen thawed rodents that'll last us a couple months, but that's still, you're still talking $300-400 a month in rats, essentially, is what it kind of comes out to between the supplies that I buy for my guys and the rodents I have to buy weekly. It's probably like $500 or $600 a month on rats total, and frozen thaw I have to supplement with. So electric bill increases, rat bill increases, and you gotta remember too, your time increases. You're going to double the time that you were spending. If you buy a collection that's the size of yours, now you have 2 collections that you're maintaining. So there's a lot to consider. There's a lot of pros and cons to buying it. Ultimately, for what my goal is in the hobby and what I want to do, this made sense. This made a ton of sense, and it was something that as soon as I did it, I don't regret it at all. I love it, and it was a great decision. I'm very happy with it. I know I'm not very far into it, but I already know the outcomes of a lot of this, like the potential outcomes of a lot of this, and I'm very thrilled with those. So Overall, there's a lot to consider. Right now, though, where we're at with the actual economy and the snake economy, which they kind of go hand in hand, right? The ball python market and the actual market. You're kind of looking at, like, right now, a lot of people are getting out, and that's fine. Let them get out. But if you believe in this and you love this hobby, double down, get into it, start breeding more. Keep your foot on the pedal, because as soon as it does pick back up, it will pick back up and it'll go heavy and hard again once the economy gets a little better, gas prices go down, the animal market goes back up. It's a story as old as time. Well, not really, but just as old as, just as long as it's been a thing, so. But anyway, guys, that is kind of just, it was supposed to be a quick video, definitely not a quick video, but that's going to kind of wrap up my assessment on some of the pros and cons to buying a collection. I think I really only talked about like cons, but the pros are you get a bunch of cool freaking animals that you get to work with and produce new stuff that you never really thought you were going to produce. That's the cool part. That's the part that I enjoy, like these breeding plans and things like that. I love that stuff. Like, I love it. So, overall happiness that this adds, well worth all the extra payments and things like that, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And until next time, well, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, guys, stay safe and stay positive.